It's Monday, the 30th of September, 2024, and it's time again for another edition of SportsView. Welcome, Derwynne Honan, to the show.
Hey, Pat, how are you?
And hopefully Joe will join us later on. And what I'm going to say is press the red button on the right-hand side to subscribe to our channel, and all the information is there. And thank you for watching in the numbers you watch it. We very much appreciate it. On the show tonight, we'll be looking at soccer, rugby, golf, tennis, snooker. Over the weekend, the Premiership, obviously we generally began with the Premiership. There was wins for Arsenal, Chelsea, Everton, Liverpool, Fulham. And a great Fulham man died over the weekend, Barry Lloyd. He was 75. He wasn't that old, Barry Lloyd, but he died. He played he had 289 appearances for Fulham, mainly, and Chelsea. He played with Chelsea as well, and many other teams as well. But he played for England as well, did he?
I think he did, yeah. I think he got a few caps, yeah.
I think he got a couple of caps. Very well regarded in soccer circles in Britain, very well regarded by anywhere he went, whether it was the lower divisions towards the end of his career, coaching or whatever, but he was highly regarded, and he's gone to that great soccer pitch in the sky, Barry Lloyd. But anyway, over the weekend, we had Man United were playing at home over the weekend. Now, if you saw the result, you wouldn't think so, but I saw most of the match. They were beaten 3-0 by Spurs. I think they made Spurs look better than what they are. Spurs are a good team, but United did not look interested on the pitch. There's a serious problem in the club from what I can see anyway, because their performance on the pitch, if it reflected the turmoil that's in the club, in the dressing room and outside the dressing room, and it's obvious to me now anyway that Ten Hag is totally out of his depth. To me, he's just a journeyman manager. He doesn't seem to inspire anything in the players or give them a bit of encouragement to play with some energy and some purpose, Derwynne. I presume you saw the game, Derwynne.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I wish I hadn't. The only thing I can say is I'm glad I didn't buy a ticket to have to drive up there to watch it.
Oh, my goodness.
But to me, United have totally lost their way. They're just in, you just said turmoil, but that football club is in a mess, isn't it? I think I honestly think Ten Hag is so far out of his depth now.
Yeah. Good evening, Joe Waters, and welcome.
Good evening, Pat Barry. Thank you.
Hey, Joe. How are you, mate?
And guess what we're talking about? We started with the Premiership, but we're starting in Old Trafford and beginning in Old Trafford. But I was saying to Derwynne before you came on here that Ten Hag to me is only a two-bit manager now. He's just out of his depth, Joe.
And the more and more this is happening, the more you'd have to question if he's up to the job.
Yeah.
But having said that, when something like Ferguson retiring or going away happens, it does something to a club that, and it's never intentional, obviously, but it does something to a club that it just seems to take the soul out of the club. And
yes.
Liverpool had it. Man City had it when Joe Mercer left and Malcolm Allen kind of stabbed him in the back a little back in the day. It was the same with Arsenal after they won the double with Bertie Mee, and then they went downhill. Yeah. Look at Spurs, the way they've still not won the league since Bill Nick won the double back in the day. So it takes a hell of a lot of getting over. Liverpool's another good example of it. After Bob Paisley and his guys, Joe Fagan and Ronnie Moran, after those guys left, they brought in Souness and Dalglish, and they couldn't get it right. And the nearest they came was Brendan Rodgers, only for Stevie Gerrard's slip in that game against Chelsea. He might have put it right by winning the title for him. But it takes so. I mean, look at Everton now. I mean, since Howard Kendall's gone, they've not won anything of any significance. Other
So,
than
but Derwynne was saying there just before you came on that Man United have spent almost £750 million in the last 2 years. So spending money doesn't seem to help either.
Well, it never has. I mean, you look back at Liverpool, all the players that they bought through the years, when they were trying to put it right, and then they even tried to do it through the academy with the likes of Fowler and Michael Owen, and then they brought in Jamie Redknapp and guys like that. So, throwing money at it isn't always the answer, and it is very, very difficult. I mean, we've seen it ourselves before. And I've watched it with Pike Rovers through the years. I've watched it with Fairview now, what they're going through after all their FAI juniors that they won.
Success,
and they're having a struggle. And when you lose very important people at a club, it's only then. My brother Dermot and I were talking about this last night. He's only visiting. And he said, when you lose the experience from the club, there's always a few people around that know everything about the club, and they may not be in the top positions, but they give the club the stability that it needs.
Yes.
And when you lose them, you lose the foundation of it, and that is so very, very difficult to get back. And I think at United. I saw one article at the weekend that the United squad is rotten to the core, and Ten Hag has no chance of resurrecting it. But the question that you have now is, who are they going to bring in? Who's the
here we'll have a comment from Roy Keane now. Just it's only about 40 seconds after the match.
Is it not the responsibility of the manager to make sure those players are ready from the first minute?
Truthfully, no. I don't think so. I'll argue all day with people. The manager's job, of course, he's got to oversee everything. But I never looked at a manager in all my career before a match. And I'm talking about great managers, some bad managers, going back to when I was 8, 9 years of age. I never looked at a manager to say, are you going to motivate me today? That comes from within. That comes from your DNA, what you stand for, your background, your family, your teammates.
There you go.
I've said this 101 times. If you are waiting for somebody else to motivate you to go and play in a game, then you shouldn't be in this game.
Yeah.
Because you have to motivate yourself. And I'm talking to my kids. I'm coaching a middle school team now of 11 and 12-year-olds, and I made a statement to them last week, about how, you have to approach this from your own standpoint. And if it is to be, it begins with me. And I have to be motivated going on that field. I agree with Roy Keane 100%. I never, ever looked at a manager or a coach or anybody and wait for them to give me words of wisdom to get me wound up to play in a game. If yes, you'd have been done. You should have been done.
Joe, I watched nearly all the match, because my son is a Man United supporter and his boys, but the team on the field, I never saw a team as badly lacking in the basics of the game. And I'm not an expert in the game, I didn't grow up in the soccer tradition, but to me, a team representing Man United, who are the number one club in the Premiership for sales of merchandise, which is probably keeping them going now anyway. But anyway, because it won't be long before Old Trafford will find it very difficult to fill the stadium if performances like that will keep going. And they're meeting now Aston Villa next in the league away from home. Who are they meeting during the week in the
Porto.
Porto during the week in Europe. So
And then
doesn't
they
get
got
easier.
Fenerbahce next week away.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier, you know. And I mean, just to go back to what Roy was saying, you know, I mean, the manager doesn't play the game; players play the game. And let's be very honest: the first goal, Mickey van der Ven, with him running through, he went through United like a hot knife through butter,
yeah,
and not one of them put a tackle in on him
not one of them.
or laid a bit of skin on him. Not one of them. If that was my team and I was playing in that team, I would have been ripping somebody a new one, or I would have been getting myself into a position to do something about it. And they didn't. They stood back and they watched.
And the pass went over, and there wasn't one United player near the Spurs player that scored the goal. You know.
Right. Yeah.
I mean that yesterday, Joe, was shambolic, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was.
I mean, as and it's not knocking them. I'm a United fan, and they were shambolic. I mean, we've been saying for ages on the show how bad are United at passing a ball.
Yeah.
That's like a common thread now. They can't pass a ball.
Oh, it was. It was appalling to watch.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
They don't chase back.
And you know, I watched them a couple of weeks ago, and in the Palace match, Palace away, and I watched half of it, and I looked at that and I went, "Wow, these guys have changed. These guys look like they have some patterns of play that they're putting into place. They have a plan. They've got good attacking stuff going." They were getting the ball to the wingers, and the wingers were taking people on. They hit the crossbar twice, or the crossbar on the post, whatever it was. And I thought, wow, maybe they have turned the corner. And then in the second half, they never pushed on.
No.
You know, they went back to being what they were before.
Yeah.
And it was just so disappointing to see it. And you're going, yeah, where? I mean, I don't know where you go next with this.
Well, Derwynne was saying there that if they were thinking of getting Gareth Southgate to replace Ten Hag, sure, that would be cruelty of the worst kind.
But so you're going to go from a guy. So you're going to go from
a guy who left Carlton Palmer on the bench for the whole of the Euros.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Cole Palmer. You always call him Colton Palmer. Cole
Palmer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
was it a Carlton Palmer? There must have been in my memory.
Yeah, he played for Leeds, I think.
About that as well, because Pep didn't exactly cover himself in glory with Palmer either.
No.
I mean, so that, you know, that in itself, everybody can make a mistake. But the thing with Gareth Southgate is that he's too much of a pragmatist in the way that he wants to play, and that's not the United way. United fans will not put up with that. You know, they want a guy that plays. You know who would be great for United? Bielsa. With the way that he plays, with his vertical integration.
Yeah.
And the excitement that he brings to the game when they play. He would be somebody that could galvanize that stadium with the way that they play. Look what he did with Leeds in the short time that he was there.
Yeah.
You know, if he was available, he might be somebody. But you know, we're talking about United, and we talked about this before. I mean, look at West Ham. West Ham are no different now than they were under David Moyes.
No.
Yeah.
You know, it just goes to show you. You know, we have Chelsea the same way. Chelsea are struggling, although they've got young players and they're getting some good results. But
I would love to see Roy Keane in there as part of the coaching team or something.
assistant manager.
I really would, because I think Roy Keane would actually. I think some players would put transfers in.
He has a passion for the club. Yeah,
They'd feel bullied, but he is. Even listening to Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton after on Radio 5 and BBC Radio 5.
Yeah.
Robbie Savage, he played in that class of 92 team, didn't he?
Yeah.
And, he's a Man United supporter. And even he was like saying, I don't know where they go from here, because that was shocking. You've got Chris Sutton, who he's not exactly controversial, is he, Chris Sutton?
No.
But, he was saying there's probably 8 players on that 11 that started that match yesterday that really should be hanging their head in shame.
Yeah.
If you watch Match of the Day, Joe, on BBC iPlayer, Danny Murphy basically highlighted so many things that were wrong. And, Danny Murphy's a Liverpool fan. He's a Liverpool player.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there just going, what is that bench of coaches and manager? What are they actually saying to each other while they're watching the game? Because no player, you've got players turning their backs on attackers who basically then drift away and get all the room they want. Basically, there was one goal yesterday. There was something like 6 players didn't even track back.
Oh yeah.
And he's highlighting all this, and you're thinking, okay, he's got slow motion, he's got everything working for him, but surely everybody can see that Fernandes, Rashford, Garnacho don't chase back. And there was an interesting comment yesterday. They're saying about Kobe Mainu and what a good player is, but he's running out of steam with 15 minutes to go. And they're saying Robbie Savage turned around and he said, no wonder he runs out of steam. That's because he's covering so much ground, because he's chasing back. He's trying to chase back what would be 3 players should be chasing back.
Right.
And he's one man trying to be in 3 different places all the time.
Well, how old is he?
Not 19?
19. So you're expecting a 19-year-old kid to carry a team like Manchester United?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. Even in George Best's time, they had Nobby Stiles, they had Bobby Charlton, they had Tony Shea Brennan, all those, Bill Fuchs, all those guys.
Yeah.
Paddy Crerand, Dennis Law, all these leaders that were in the dressing room. You look at this dressing room now, and I'm finding it hard. Let's be very honest. They were lucky not to get beat by 6 or 7 yesterday.
They were.
Oh,
they were.
You're just. I'm sitting here right now thinking, okay, Porto could knock 6 in, if not more. If they go out like they did yesterday.
Yeah.
Now, outside the ground, there was a microphone. Obviously, little media weren't there outside the ground yesterday, and this is what one of the stalwarts season ticket holder had to say about it.
Matic, forget about Aston Villa next weekend. Do you expect and do you want Erik ten Hag to be gone by tomorrow morning?
I don't think he was the manager for United from the end of last season, mate, and nothing's changed. It gets worse every single week. United have had 3 home games here at Old Trafford this season. We've scored 1, we conceded 6, and we picked 3 points up. Is that worth keeping hold of a manager for? No plan, no idea. Going out in the first half, conceding 1 minute, you're supposed to be ready to go. The manager's words ringing in your ears. Switched on, goal conceded. Bruno Fernandes gets sent off, fair enough, yeah, red card. So what do? You come out in the second half, manager's words ringing in your head again, should be ready, defend, make no mistake, stay in the game. 1 minute in, you concede again, game over. Then you concede from a set piece, switching off. Honestly, there's no plan, there's no idea, there's no inspiration, there's no passion, there's no leadership, there's absolutely nothing in this team that's going to get Ten Hag any more time at this football club. Spurs fans singing you're getting sacked in the morning, United fans laughing at that. Spurs fans singing you know what you are, which is, I won't swear, but you obviously know the answer to that. It's just got to a stage now where it feels like it was with Jose. It feels like it was with Ole. The expectation levels, the boos, like everybody knows what's coming. They just come here in hope that something's going to change, but really deep down they know it's not going to. And it's it. We've seen this. We've rode this train before. It's the same old story at Old Trafford again. Players that just won't play for a manager and the same results coming. It doesn't matter who we play. We played FC 20. We give up to them. We let their defender maraud all the way down the pitch without getting a finger laid on him. Van der Ven, yeah, he's a class player. But can no one lay a finger on him? You take him out. You stop him getting in there. He literally marauded through, like I said then a minute ago, when you're supposed to be switched on and ready, and their centre-back runs right through the whole team. Sorry, you can talk about red cards, you can talk about bad form, but there's basics in football that this lot are not doing, and Ten Hag's in charge of it, mate.
Listen, you've had some tough times since Sir Alex Ferguson left, but where does this afternoon rank in the most embarrassing you felt as a Manchester United fan from seeing those sorts of performances on the pitch?
With everyone available, no injuries, which was the excuse last season, another 200 million spent, taking it up to 600 million, over $500 million on Ten Hag. It's getting there, mate. We've got everything right off the pitch. The youth set up, smashing it everywhere through up to the first team, and then it fails. It fails there. It just doesn't inspire you. Ten Hag doesn't inspire you as a coach. He doesn't inspire you when he speaks. His tactics don't inspire you. Where's the fast-flowing football that Sir Jim Radcliffe said that he wanted? He wants fast-flowing football. That's what he wants here at Old Trafford. You ain't going to fill an 100-seater, 1,000-seater stadium playing football like that. There's no entertainment here. There's only Ipswich and Southampton that have scored less goals than United this season, and we've scored one in the league here at Old Trafford.
And those two are near the relegation zone as well.
Promoted sides in the relegation zone. That's it. What more is there to say? Like, it's not.
Well, that was one of the supporters after coming out after paying his 60 quid. I presume it's 60 quid to go into the match, is it?
So are they going to call the new stadium then the Stadium of Nightmares?
Yeah, they could, yeah. And there's the league table on the Premiership is Liverpool are on 15 points, Man City are on 14, Arsenal are on 14 points, Chelsea 13, Villa 12, Fulham 11, Newcastle 11, and Brighton 9 points. And Man United are down in, appropriately enough, Derwynne, 13th place with 7 points.
You know, Joe, we just before you came on, or before the show started, I said to Pat that it wouldn't need many more games for United to be in a relegation battle.
Yeah.
Well, they're away to Aston Villa next Sunday, and I don't think they'll get a result.
Well, let's face it, United. You know, what's Ten Hag going to win this year? You know, he's raving the other day about 7-0 against Barnsley, as though it was like we're on track, and you're like, get over it, will you? Yeah, it was Barnsley.
Yeah.
You know, could you imagine Ferguson going yippee-yi-yay over beating Barnsley 7-0?
No,
he would have just said, well, that's what we should do.
No.
Yeah.
You know,
what do you expect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I'm sitting there as a United fan, and I'm half an hour to go, and I'm counting how many empty rows, not seats, empty rows.
No.
There was.
Well,
And you're sitting there, and you, as much as we all go, and like that fans summing up was actually pretty good when you consider it.
yeah.
And you're sitting there going, well, you know, what do you need to see before you start questioning Ten Hag? Because Ten Hag came on and afterwards on Match of the Day and actually turned around and said there were so many positives in the game. And
I think he's
throwing the
on.
telly out the window because I'm like, I can't listen to this.
I hope there was only chalk on the white lines in Old Trafford. You know, it might have been something else on the white lines.
What's the positives? Because I'm not seeing any positives. I'm sitting there as a United fan. I'm thinking, right, Porto will take them apart. Villa are probably going to beat them. Then they've got Fenerbahce away, which, let's face it, going anywhere near Turkey away, whether that's Galatasaray or Fenerbahce, is never easy, is it?
It's going to be very hostile. Well, Joe, I see one of your old clubs, Grimsby, had a good away win over the weekend. They were away. I want to ask you a question. They were away to Carlisle. What kind of a ground is up there in Carlisle? You know, they're a bit out of the way.
Cold one.
Huh?
It's cold up there. I can tell you. He's very, very.
Yeah, it frees the something off our brass monkey. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
up in Carlisle. With apologies to Carlisle, as sure as the fight this, you know. Leeds and Norwich won in the championship as well. So in the soccer, but we had the Madrid derby over the weekend, and it finished 1-1. Madrid derby, and in Spain. As a result of the weekend, you have top of the league in Spain. You have Barcelona with 21 points, and Real Madrid with 18, Atletico Madrid in 16, and the Athletic Club 14, Mallorca 14, and Villarreal 14. And the Premiership game on tonight is Bournemouth and Southampton. Bournemouth are 1-0 up at the moment. And in the Serie A, Napoli are top with 13, Juventus are runners with 12, AC Milan 11, Inter Milan 11, Torino 11, Empoli 10, and Lazio 10. And Como, who are managed now by Cesc Fabregas, had a home win over the weekend as well. So they're halfway through the league. That's Como. It's one of the most. It's considered the most beautiful setting for a football pitch in Italy now, lads. Scenery around Como, Lake Como, and all that area of Italy. If you're thinking of going there, I don't know. Maybe you never know with that now. You know, I looked at the weekend. Anyway, over the weekend as well, the championship was decided down under the rugby championship, and South Africa won the championship. And South Africa, they beat Argentina 48-7. So they really overwhelmed them completely. And after South Africa finished up with 24 points, and New Zealand 16 points, Argentina 14, Australia 5 points. They only won one game out of the six. That's Australia. And South Africa won 5, New Zealand won 3, and Argentina won 3. Of course, Argentina beat South Africa, New Zealand, and Australia during the championship. So they're a tough team. They're shaping up well for the next. Munster were beaten away in the URC, and there's an acrimonious fallout over that result. And Roundtree, the manager, is under pressure again, as he was under pressure last year. They were beaten by Zebra 42-33. Leinster won, Connacht won, and also were beaten by the Lions in South Africa. So that's the rugby. And the women today, the women's rugby team, who were finished bottom of the Six Nations last year, and they brought in a new manager, new coach, and they gave all the girls a new contract. They go fully professional. And they beat New Zealand today, who are one of the powerhouses in women's rugby as well, you know. They beat them by 29-27 with a converted try in the last minute of the match. So it was a superb result for the ladies today. So that's the bit of rugby. Joe, did you know Barry died? He died over the weekend. Barry died. Did you hear?
I played against him a couple of times.
Yeah.
I didn't know him personally,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
my buddy Steve Earle played with him at Fulham for
Yeah, he played Fulham and Chelsea. Yeah, he did.
years, and a really good guy. According to Steve, really great guy. Yeah, that's kind of sad one.
It is, yeah, 75, 75. The dementia, I mean, dementia is getting a lot of people, you know. There's Chris Christopherson, the singer who died had dementia as well. I know which one of me had, you know. But he was 88, so he was a good age, you know.
Yeah.
But over the weekend, now we're going to have a golf lesson there. And I forgot to get his name, but you might know him. We're going to have a golf lesson here on theirmedia.tv on our SportsView program. And the contact number is down there, or email and phone number.
And some players come in like this and see me. They spend a lot of energy trying to rotate during the backswing, and they end up shifting kind of late away from the target. And then they do a lot of rotating early on the way down, and then they shift on the way through, right? So that sort of look. A lot of energy, rotating, a lot of effort, kind of a late shift, he looked like. A lot of rotating late shift. And I see variations of that a lot. When in fact, what Rory does and what the best players do is the exact opposite. They shift early and then they rotate after. They shift early and they rotate after. In fact, before we dive into the details, most of their shifting during the backswing is done in the first few feet of the swing. Most of their shifting towards the target is done in the early part of the downswing. So the majority of your shifting during the backswing as you start the swing should happen from setup to about takeaway, by the hands parallel to the ground here by the hip. This first little part's almost all of your shifting. Then the rotation kicks in. And as I start down, most of my forward shifting happens from the top to literally the same hip high, very early. And then it's more of the rotation. So it's not just what you're supposed to do in a golf swing, it's when you do things and the order in which you do things that's so important. And that's what this concept's all about.
Now, there you are, lads. I saw that during the week. I thought it was interesting, for people who have stiffer joints like myself than most other people who may not be able to have a full rotation, as they call it, anything. Anyway, over the weekend, of course, we had the Spanish Open, and I watched the last round of the Spanish Open yesterday, and it was intriguing between John Ram, Hidalgo, and the three Spaniards who were leading the tournament played together in the final round. Of course, they had all the crowd with them, but John Ram looked all in, then he came back strong, and Hidalgo, who's young enough player, he won the competition in the second playoff hole, which was fantastic for him, and 552,000 euro for his trouble, so a nice check. And Shane Lowry finished at -6. He had a good last round, but he was 8 shots off the lead, but decent last round as well. The President's Cup, I know there's any interest in the President's Cup. I know why they play it, because America win it all the time. They beat the world, the rest of the world, up in Canada over the weekend. 18.5 to 11.5 they beat him. And
there was a lot of there's a lot of bad feeling too in that match.
There was a lot of there's a lot of unsporting. I think Scheffler and Cantley don't do anything for the game of golf when it comes to sportsmanship. Both Scotty Scheffler and Cantley, they're two obnoxious characters.
I think the young Kim Woo Soo or whatever his name is.
Soo and Ken, yeah.
Yeah, I think he was a little bit out of order as well. I mean, we've all watched the Ryder Cup. I've never seen 3-footers being given in the Ryder Cup for halves.
Yeah.
And he was expecting it as a gimme, and you're like, no, come on, be real. I mean, that's missable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I mean, I've never seen anybody give 3-foot putts or expect to have a 3-foot putt.
Yeah, didn't Jack Nicklaus famously give a putt to someone in one Ryder Cup?
He did, but that was with Jacqueline in
Tori Jacqueline.
I think it was
1970.
71, was it? Something
71,
like that?
71. Yeah.
He did it because he knew he didn't want Jacqueline to miss it because of the pressure. And that to me that's a different ball game there. Nicklaus got slaughtered for doing that in the press in America.
He did, but he was a gentleman, Jack Nicklaus,
But he was bigger. He was bigger than that.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And I kind of he did not want Jacqueline to miss that putt, and for him to win the hole like that or win the match like that.
Yeah.
And that's class to me. That's why the man's classy in that.
Who's the classiest golfer around today now?
If I told you who's one of the nicest guys out there on the tour, you wouldn't believe me. But he's Jeev Milkha Singh.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know who he is.
I've had players when I've been running some Volvo events where they've been invited to play in the Pro-Am on the Wednesday before the Volvo Masters and different things like that. Phil Jones, who was the general manager out in Bahrain, when we took the Tournament of Champions out to Bahrain,
Yeah.
He's a golf pro, but he was playing in the Pro-Am, and he asked me, who can I get paired with? And I said, who do you want to get paired with?
Yeah.
And he came out with all the names and all the rest of it. And I said, do you want to have a really unbelievable experience of playing with a top player?
Yeah.
And he went, yeah. I said, let me pick the player for you. And afterwards, Phil Jones came up to me after the Pro-Am and said, what you told me about Jeev Milkha Singh, he said, he talked to us all the way around the golf course. He gave us lessons around the golf course.
Cool, yeah.
He came off the golf course, and instead of disappearing, which is what they all do, he came and had lunch with us. He then took us up onto the practice ground to give us more lessons.
Yeah. My God.
He then went into his golf bag and pulled out gifts from his sponsors that he has to give to people, amateurs. And Phil came up to me and he said, that's the nicest experience I've ever had. And the following year, we took it back to Bahrain, and Phil wanted to play again with someone else. Jeev Milkha Singh wasn't playing, and he went out with one of his so-called heroes to play with.
Yeah.
The guy, I won't mention the name, but he didn't talk to him. He kept on hitting practice balls. He was practice bunker shots while they were putting out in the Pro-Am. He then, up 18, he hit his second shot into 18 before the guys did. And then literally on the 18th, he said, thanks very much, and walked away. And they never saw him again. And Phil said to me, he said, I've now experienced exactly what you told me would happen. He goes, I wish Jeev Milkha Singh was here.
And I heard Padraig Harrington is a good character to be with.
Harrington's a really good lad to play with in a Pro-Am because he does the same thing again. It's a Pro-Am before a European Tour event or Pro-Am before a US.
Well, one thing anyway, Derwynne, he talk.
Yeah, it's a practice round for the pros.
Yeah.
They're all getting paid anyway, so it's a practice round.
Mm.
But the ones who are really good are the ones who actually spend time with those people.
Yeah.
And if you look at someone like Harrington, Jeev Milkha Singh, they pick up sponsors from the Pro-Ams because people go, I want to help that guy. I'll support him because what a good guy. And someone like Harrington, if if the three of us had a big company and we wanted to put a logo on Harrington, it's going to cost us at least £500,000. But you know what? You'd earn that £500,000 back from your clients having a day out with Padraig Harrington.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the quid pro quo. Yeah, it's a payoff. Yeah. So most professionals, I presume, would be positive with people. They'd be used to playing in pro-ams and like that.
Yeah, they're used to playing with them. But if I told you 3/4 of them don't want to play in the Pro-Am anyway.
Yeah.
And they treat it like a practice round. And the very small percentage, and I'm being generous by saying 3/4 of them, is probably more like 90% of them don't want to do it. And if they can get out of it by saying, I've hurt my foot, I need to see the physio, and I've hurt my hand, I want some work on my hand, they'll get out, but they'll spend 8 hours practicing and going out behind the Pro-Am.
But wouldn't they have a duty to their sponsors to pay?
Well, you'd think so, but they're so far removed from that nowadays. I mean, they see that as just a financial transaction that they've got their logo on the bag or on their sleeve or, on their hat. And they take the privilege of having that exposure.
And I'm thinking of the golfers at the very top of the game, the 20 or 30 of them. They don't need any more money to live. They don't need any more money to spend. And they have nothing left, only the love of the game to play for.
Yeah, you're being a bit, dare I say, a bit romantic and a bit naive at the same time. I mean, I always classify it as the Ryder Cup team, the top 20 on the Order of Merit. I mean, the top 20 on either Order of Merit, whether that's Europe or America, are being paid to play. You know, Woods at his peak was £1 million,
Yeah.
£1 million for him to tee up and play. $1 million.
Well, you can see that at the gate, at the receipts, at the crowds that come in.
Yeah, but again, most of the sponsors of those events don't get involved in the gate receipts. They'll
Yeah.
pass those off to the golf club as a pro, quid pro quo for
Yeah.
value in kind for not paying for use of the golf course and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So they'll pass the gate receipts because none of that really matters. I mean, where the sponsors are earning is from TV rights. The tour are earning from TV rights, advertising, all sorts of different things. But you know that when you reach the top 20 in the order of merit, you're a bit. I want to say you're a bit like Premier League footballers. You want more money,
Yeah.
and
Well,
there's a greed element that kicks in.
yeah, it's hard for me to understand that anyway, But I'm just saying that. Well, in tennis, just to finish up, the World Anti-Doping Agency is to appeal Yannick Sinner's clearance after he was tested twice for a banned substance. So that's going to court all the way by WADA, and it's not looking positive for Sinner that he's going to get a suspension, as was the case under the rules anyway. I don't know how I didn't read it out. It's very bogged down. Mark Selby won the British Open in Stoke over the weekend. He beat John Higgins in the final. So there's two old lads still flying away. And to Selby's first Reiki tournament in 18 months, I think. So there you go. He won that 10-5, that thing. But getting back to soccer for the week, lads. All the European competitions are on now during the week in soccer. And I watched Derwynne Duff's team the other night. It was a nil-all draw. Just Shelbourne. Derwynne Duff is, for all people might know, he's managing Shelbourne, who are top of the league by 4 points. They're playing Shamrock Rovers now next weekend in Tala, and that will probably definitively decide the league. And it will be what's his name? The former Irish manager. He's manager now of St. Patrick's Athletic, and they'll have to win the last 4 games under him. Stephen Kinney, and they picked up 12 points out of 12, and they're flying up the table. So they're doing well under Stephen Kinney. If you remember Stephen Kinney before he got the Irish job, he was the manager of Dundalk, who had a very successful run in Europe. But a couple of years on the road, they could go out of soccer for financial reasons, and they're trying to save the club anyway, financially speaking, up there in Dundalk, which is it's a huge turnaround from the club, and they had qualified 3 successive years in Europe, and they had huge amount of money. But like many League of Ireland clubs, they don't seem to be able to manage it properly. That is the cash part of it. And anyway, we wish them the best. But for our friends across the water for the rest of the season, I think the possibility of Man United finishing the top 4 is probably not on this year. Joe, what do you think?
Oh, I don't think they have any chance, to be honest, being in the top 4. I was a bit more optimistic at the beginning of the season, but after what we've just watched in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I really don't see them doing that in any way, shape, or form.
Do you think, Derwynne? Do you think they won't finish?
I think I've got more chance of being knighted than they have of finishing 4th.
Yeah, that wouldn't give them much of a chance. So really,
Right.
I honestly think by Christmas that United could be down that bottom 3rd, battling.
Well, they're 13th now, 13th place out of 20.
Yeah, I think anybody saying they're going to make top 4 and make Europe or win the FA Cup, I think they're on something, and I need some of it if they're thinking like that.
Yeah,
I
could see him winning the League Cup just because clubs won't play their strongest teams up to maybe about the semi-final anyway. They could squeeze through on something like that, but for the FA Cup or getting into the Champions League. I think, to be honest, I don't think they'd even qualify for Europe the way they're going right now.
Yeah, they won't be in Europe, which will be a big revenue drain as well. But also,
let's face it, Joe. If the third round of the FA Cup was being played next week, and they pulled Wrexham or something,
yeah,
I'd be standing there going, "Well, Wrexham, if there's ever a chance, this is it."
Yeah.
And something else was said yesterday that on Match of the Day, Danny Murphy turned around and he said, when he was playing for Liverpool, obviously the biggest game of the season was always playing United.
Yeah.
He said, but going to Old Trafford was literally intimidating to the point, well, if we get a result today, like a draw, what a result.
Yeah.
If we win, that's a miracle. And he said, Old Trafford used to be a fortress for United. He said, now, he said, I mean, I think Phil Jones said something that when Ferguson was in charge, he would come in just before going out to the tunnel and he'd say, guys, it's Tottenham. Tottenham had lost 26 times in a row at Old Trafford till yesterday.
Yeah.
And Phil Jones used to say that with Tottenham, and he now turned around and he said, it's interesting. He said, I'll have a bet with you now that teams are going to Old Trafford and going, it's okay, it's only United. Because they're not intimidating. There's no fear factor anymore because you've got every chance of beating United because they ain't that good.
You look at the team now, and you play professionally, Joe. You look at the team now, and just look at you look at the team that lined out that began yesterday against Tottenham, and you would say, what player would put the fear of God in you, target out against them on the pitch in Old Trafford yesterday?
Well, I mean, you look at Garnacho on his day. Would be a player that would do that.
I suppose so.
But really, in the great scheme of things, there isn't. You look at it and you're going, no, there's really not anybody that would do that. And I mean, just going back to what the guy said in the interview, and what Roy Keane said in the interview is even more striking to me. The last thing you always thought about is before you went on the field, right? Is the first 5 minutes, the last 5 minutes. Do not give up anything in those, right? So first 5 minutes to half, last 5 minutes to the half. Make sure that you're tight, you're ready to go, you're all. So twice in one game, they give up a goal within 2 minutes of the game starting.
Yeah.
How can you possibly be competitive when you're that? Even with 10 men, you can set yourself up not to give up a goal in the first 2 minutes and keep yourself in the game.
Yeah,
but they weren't able to do that.
But in fairness to Bruno Fernandes, he's a good passer of the ball.
He is a fine passer of the ball, but there's so much more to the game than just being a good passer.
Yeah.
But when you watch Bruno Fernandes, you don't know which one you're getting from game to game.
But when you see Bruno Fernandes playing for Portugal, he's a totally different player when you see him playing for Portugal. And the reason for that is he trusts the players around him and they trust him in the Portuguese team.
I think, Joe, you're on mute, mate.
Missing somewhere.
Huh?
Sorry, mate.
No, go on.
We lost a bit of sound there from you.
Oh, sorry. There's leadership missing there,
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes is a fine passer of the ball. He's a very skillful player. He does a lot of really good things. But there's a lot of things that he doesn't do.
Yeah.
And, You know, I mean, to be honest, he was unfortunate that he got sent off yesterday because he did lose his standing foot.
He did. He slipped.
Yeah, I mean, and it looked worse than it was, you know. But you know,
He doesn't chase back, does he, Joe? He's
no, he
no
doesn't.
real,
No, he
there's
doesn't.
no effort, is there?
No, there isn't, and there's too many. You know, there's too many of them like that. You can, you know, I read, and I think I told you guys this the last time. Pure Genius is the name of the book on George Best, and George Best in the game he was given a free roll by Matt Busby, and he used to drop back deep and pick the ball up so that he had the ball and he could dictate the terms of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And he would run his socks off. He would tackle a tank. I mean, he knew no fear, and he never saw three players that he didn't fancy taking on and beating.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, those are the kinds of guys that you want on your team, not guys that are looking over their shoulder for somebody else to be the leader. They have to be the ones that are doing that. And
one of the players over the weekend, before I forget it, that impressed me a lot was young Delap. When he scored those two goals for Ipswich, you know, he's terrific game. He played a terrific game out there. And of course, his dad played for Ireland, Rory Delap. You remember Rory Delap, the long throw man.
Yeah, I saw him playing Jackman Park.
Yeah,
he was playing for back in the they were playing Limerick, and I think he was playing for either Athlone Town or somebody like that. And yeah, I saw him play there, and you know, and he's another Man City kid. They bought him from Ipswich. Bought him from Man City, didn't they?
Yeah.
You know what's interesting, Joe? Not to cut across you, but you know, when you watch Ipswich yesterday,
yeah,
they're a team that are playing for each other and they're trying their socks off.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
And you look at the United. I know we can't keep talking about United, but you look at the effort from Ipswich, and you look at the effort from Man United, and you just go, well, if Ipswich turned up like that at Old Trafford, they've got a chance.
Yeah.
Well, the manager is very good. Is very highly regarded. Young Kenna from Northern Ireland. He's
like, I mean, I asked a question. I'll ask you the question, Joe, because I said it to Pat before we came on air. You know, if he spent nearly 700,000 on players in the last 2 years, name one player that you go, wow, well, he was worth the money.
At Old Trafford, you mean?
Yeah.
To be honest, you'd be very hard pushed to see who was worth up to now worth the money.
Yeah.
There really hasn't been. There's been very little payback for what they've spent.
That's true. That's very true.
You know,
Very
so
true.
now with the likes of Hoyland and Xerxes and those guys, will they come good? But I mean, you look at somebody like Anthony. I mean, he looks like he's just vanished into a black hole.
Yeah.
Casemiro.
Yeah, I mean, and he doesn't appear to be coming out of it anytime soon.
How much did they pay for Casemiro?
They paid, what did they pay, 50 million or something like that?
I think it was, nearly like 50 for him. And again, you sit there and go, well, yeah, maybe 5 years ago he was worth 50.
Yeah.
But again, they're buying a player who's on the way down, really, and I don't mean that disrespectfully.
Yeah.
But he's on the. I mean, tell me something. I mean, as good as Ericsson has been, and he has been an unbelievably good player. I mean, and we're United are pulling him on with half an hour to go. And really, I mean, Ericsson's kind of past his sell by date, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He wouldn't get in the Liverpool team. He wouldn't get in the Chelsea team.
Oh,
He
they
wouldn't
would,
get.
yeah.
He wouldn't get in the Arsenal team. He wouldn't get in the Man City team.
No.
He wouldn't even get in the Fulham team.
He
You know,
wouldn't
if
I
you
mean,
looked
he
at
would
Man,
get near their benches, not to mind in the team. So it's I thought that was a very strange one. I'm giving him a contract extension. I thought that he should have left, and they should have either made room for a younger player coming up.
Yeah.
Should have brought in a replacement because
Young,
we
young
don't
lad.
we know what their midfield is like. Their midfield is so porous. They again they're having the problems from the top of the box, the penalty spot area, where teams are coming in and players are running in free and getting shots off and what have you. And they haven't sorted that out.
Yes, true.
Who's the defensive player that's controlling the box?
you know, Joe, if you were put in there as the manager, with your experience and your background, how many of those United players would you be going, well, he's going to be inked in for every game, and how many would be penciled in?
Yeah. I mean, well, you're looking at it'd be hard to say, you know, because we all know, right? Good teams pick themselves,
They do.
right?
You
So
could
that's
name.
what you're really asking,
Yeah.
right? So, like Arsenal, maybe one or two different guys, but that team pretty much goes out the same.
The same with the Liverpool team, or the same 10 or 11, yeah.
And the same with Man City,
Yeah.
and those guys. So, but with United, I mean, it could be any mixture of anything that is that could be out there. And
Yeah,
it's
true.
it's yeah. Again, there's I don't I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel for them.
No.
You
Well,
know?
you look at City. They bring De Bruyne off the bench.
Yeah.
And we're bringing Eriksen off the bench.
Yeah.
And not being disrespectful to Eriksen, but I mean the quality of players at Old Trafford at the moment is below par, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And,
Well, I can tell you that
for that
it's only in the. Go on.
is that Ten Hag buying the wrong players? Or is it someone above the director of sport buying the wrong players? I mean, surely the manager has some kind of say in it.
Well, as we sit here on a Monday night, Bournemouth are 3-0 up at half time against Southampton, who to me are the most disappointing teams that came up, because I thought they were better than that. I thought they would make a good fist of the Premiership. That's Southampton I'm talking about now, you know.
Yeah.
They're 3-0 down at half time, and well, there's enough said about that, you know. I thought they would be better, you know. I thought they'd make their mark in the Premiership, but I suppose there is a big gulf between a Championship team and a Premiership team, but not alone in the quality of players, within fitness levels as well, you know, coming up.
Yeah, I really I've watched Southampton a couple of times. I've watched Bournemouth, and Bournemouth play a very high pressure game, which would not suit Southampton. Southampton like a slow, controlled game, and Bournemouth getting in their faces and what have you. That would upset their rhythm big time, and it's to be honest, I know we talked about this before, but I never felt Southampton were going to be.
You're going to struggle.
Yeah, I felt that they were going to struggle from the start.
I thought Ipswich were impressive yesterday to me. I watched most of the game.
It's been impressive in every game they've played.
Yeah, right.
They've had a go. They've given it 100% as best they could, and they they can be very direct, and they can play a little bit as well. But at least they're always putting in a shift.
Yeah.
And if they're putting in a shift, then they've got a chance.
Well, we wish them all the best of luck for the future for the rest of the year, including Man United, and we don't believe that hopefully they're finishing in the top end of the league, but it remains to be seen whether Ten Hag stays on or not. I don't know that. I don't know will changing the manager do much to the team that went out in the pitch last Sunday. We don't know that. But for this edition of SportsView, we have another hour put down. The last day of September. Tomorrow is the 1st of October. So you'll be getting the decorations out soon, lads. But
Yeah.
yeah. So from this edition of SportsView, from Joe Waters and from Derwynne Honan, thanks very much, lads, for giving up here Monday night again. And take care and have a good sporting week.
See you,
Take
boys.
care.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Take care.